Hello everybody, this is Tip Top MTG here today with another Magic the Gathering video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about all the spoilers from Double Masters on July 20th. Now, Double Masters is a full reprint set, and obviously it's a Master set, and since I've been doing spoiler videos, I have never covered a Master set. And so I'm doing something a little different, because these are all new cards, I can't talk about how I think they're going to affect, since none of these are new cards, I can't talk about how they're going to affect formats, which is generally what I talk about. So instead we're going to talk about the price and the overall quality of Double Masters. So let's jump it right into this. So our first card is Boon Reflection. It's a 5-cost white enchantment. It says if you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. So obviously this is part of, doubling Double Masters. Makes a lot of sense. It was last reprinted in Shadowmoor, and it currently, by the way, that price in the bottom left, a couple things. That is in USD. It is as of this date, so the 20th, and it is according to Card Kingdom. Obviously, these prices can be different, and some of them, they already had prices for the Double Masters version, and if that was the case, I put that. If they didn't, I put the lowest price set. So, if it was reprinted 5 times, I picked, near mint quality for the lowest priced one, which is generally the most recently printed one. So you could pick this up for $8.99, which when you're buying $15 packs, it doesn't look that great, and it really isn't, but you have to remember that you are getting 2 rares and 2 foils, so that might make up for it. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So then next we have Thought Reflection. So this is a 7-cost blue enchantment. It says if you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. And so this is, obviously better than, not better, sorry, it's a lot more expensive, but the effect is more powerful than doubling your life gain. But this was also reprinted in Commander 2015, which means that the price is significantly lower. So it's at $1.49. Again, if you're buying a $15 pack, or worse, if you're buying a $100 pack and one of your rares is this, that is pretty disappointing. So next, we have Jace the Mind Sculptor. So this is a 4-cost blue legendary planeswalker Jace with 3 loyalty. And he's a +2 that says, look at the top card of target player's library. You may put that card on the bottom of that player's library. Has a 0 that says draw 3 cards, and then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order, so you brainstorm. You -1, and you return target creature to its owner's hand, and -12, exile all cards from target player's library, then that player shuffles their hand into their library, so you essentially just win the game if you get that ultimate off, but that's not actually why this card's so good. This card's amazing because it's so much utility. It's, fixing your draws, drawing you cards, returning threats, so it's just very hard to deal with, and it's just very powerful in a lot of different formats. It was last reprinted in Mythic Edition, but that's kind of not a real set, so it was last reprinted in a real set in Masters 25, and he is at $69.99, so obviously if you pull this from a pack, you are going to be very, very excited about it. $15, you get a $70 card plus another rare and foils, and if you get him in foils, it's going to be even more expensive. Obviously, pre-order prices, since these are reprints, they're only bound to fall, but keep that in mind. Next, we have Magus of the Abyss. So in the center, there's the actual card, but on the left, there is a card that was printed, obviously, a while ago in English, so that we can read it here. It's a 4-cost black creature, human wizard, for 3, and it says, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, destroy target non-artifact creature that player controls of his or her choice. It can't be regenerated. So it's kind of at the beginning of each players' upkeeps, they sacrifice a non-artifact creature, but the issue is it does not actually sacrifice, so if they choose something indestructible, this kind of does nothing. It was last reprinted in Commander 2017, and it is worth 25 cents. Yes, this is a 25-cent rare in a pack that costs $15 or potentially $100. Can you imagine pulling this in a $100 pack? So obviously the way I talk about them is in Wooburg order, and I talk about, rarity, so it starts with common white cards, then rare white card, but this was one of the earlier ones spoiled, and, they started off very slow. The momentum in this morning was awful in terms of the quality of them, and, that's not always true, but, for instance, this one, Grim Lava Masters, this was the first card spoiled, but this was reprinted in Jumpstart. That set that, came out Friday. So, this is a rare that's $1.79. It's probably going to fall because it's going to be, whenever they reprint Jumpstart, this is going to drop in price. So this just feels like a really weird inclusion. So it's 1 red for a creature, human wizard, 1/1, and you can pay a red and tap it, and exile 2 cards from your graveyard, and it deals 2 damage to any target. Again, good card, they just reprinted it. So, yeah. Next, we have Reclamation Sage. Now, this is an uncommon, but it is 3 and a green, not 3 and a green, 2 and a green for 3 mana, creature, elf, shaman, 2/1, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Now, what's interesting is, first off, is this is more expensive than the one Magus, so this uncommon is worth more, but this was reprinted in Commander 2020, but what's interesting about this is that, first off, it's a really good creature, but also they're using art that on Reclamation Sage has only ever been used on one promo, and it was like a promo, so you couldn't get this in a normal frame. So it's interesting to see that here. To my knowledge, there may have been some weird one that wasn't showing up on Scryfall, but that is what I've concluded, and so I thought that was very interesting. Next, we have Terrastodon. It's an 8-cost green elephant creature, 9/9, and when it enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. So you kind of get to do a beast within... Or, sorry, I should probably finish reading. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green creature elephant. Basically, you're basically casting Beast Within, but it can't target creatures 3 times. And what's powerful about this is that this is an ETB, so if you can flicker this, if you can recruit from your graveyard, this still works. And obviously it's a 9/9, which, if it's attacking, the 3/3s can kill. So that's kind of interesting. And it was last reprinted in Commander Anthologies, and again, we're getting a very low-costed rare. Like, I understand, could see a 59-cent rare in Standard, where they're $4 boosters. That's 1/8 of the price. But this is abysmal. This is like 1/30th of the price of the packs. You better hope your other cards are worth a lot. Next, we have Exploration. This is a 1-cost green enchantment, and it says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Very powerful effect, especially to get out turn 1. You turn 1, play a forest or some, I don't know, bayou. Tap it, play Exploration. Now you can play another land, maybe play something with that if you're in Commander, maybe play a Soul Ring even. Just very powerful card. It was last reprinted in Conspiracy and only one other time before that, or printed only one other time before that, and it's at $44.99. So this is something you would love to pull. You'd love to pull it in foil. You'd love to pull, I would say, an alternate art, but there is no alternate art from this one, at least not revealed yet. So yeah, pretty good card. Next, we have Champion of Lambholt, and this one is similar to Grim Lavamancer. It was also just reprinted in Jumpstart. It's a very good card, but it's only worth $1.50. So, yeah, it is very good. It's 1 green for a creature, human warrior, 1/1. It says creatures with power less than it can't block creatures you control. So if you can make this thing a 10/10, they can only block with 10/10s and above for your creatures. And then it says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So that's, a way to make her bigger and an advantage for having her be a big creature. Very good card, but again, was just reprinted. It almost feels like this set, and it probably was, and, Jumpstart kind of were created without looking at each other. Like, oops, we just reprinted the same thing, now this is worth nothing. So, again, anytime they reprint Jumpstart, which they said it's an unlimited print run, this is going to go down in price. Next, we have a Baleful Strix. This is a blue and a black for a 1/1 artifact creature bird with flying and death touch, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Again, good with flickering shenanigans, just pretty good. It replaces itself and can basically be a kill spell, but it's $3.99, but it was last reprinted as a secret layer, which means that it will never be that as expensive as the secret layer. That's not true because it's alternate art, but just, and they're limited time. But it was also reprinted Mystery Booster. It's seen a lot of reprintings recently, so again, it's just another reprint, another lame rare at $3.99. It's better than some others, but yeah. Next, we have Sharum, the Hegemon. It's 3 and Esper, or white, blue, black, for legendary artifact creature Sphinx, 5/5 with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, that's an interesting effect, again, good with flickering, but it's at 99 cents, and it was last reprinted in Commander 2016, so again, just not that great of a reprint. Now, you're going to notice a theme going forward here in a second, but so let's go into the colorless cards. So this is Expedition Map. It's a 1-cost artifact, and it says, pay 2, tap, sacrifice Expedition Map, search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Okay, pretty good card. Now, why am I showing this one? Now, some of the cards we've talked about before do have the borderless version, and we're going to talk about that more at the end, by the way. But you'll notice the symbol on this one. On the left, it's a common. On the right, it's a rare. So they said that the box toppers were all going to be like foil, or not foil, they're going to be these borderless rares and mythics. But that's not true. The box toppers are going to be look like rares and mythics, but some of them are going to be commons like this expedition map. Now that does not mean they're valueless. I mean, Soul Ring is only a $2 card, but the invention version of it is worth a lot. And I know a lot of people were upset about this, but also a lot of people were like, look, it's good to have cards that are cheap, but also have an expensive variant if you want to bling out your deck. Now, I don't think this will see as, high of a price as something like Doubling Season, but I do think it'll maintain a pretty high price for the borderless version. But yeah, just keep that in mind when you're looking at this, that some of these, the box toppers that are supposed to be amazing are going to be commons or uncommons. And speaking of which, why don't we move into some more of those? Although we'll talk about them more specifically and what they look like at the end. But Urza's Tower, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Mine. So this is just a really cool cycle of lands that just work really well together. They're really important to like Tron decks, but again, they're only 99 cents a piece, and they were in Masters Edition 4. But then again, 99 cents a piece for a common is not awful. So yeah, just not much I can complain about here, except for the fact that these are going to be box toppers, 99-cent cards. We'll move into those in a little bit. Conjurer's Closet's 5-cost artifact. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, return it to the battlefield under your control. So, very, very good card. It's colorless, so it can go in any deck, and in Commander, this sees a ton of play. If you have a Commander with a good ETB, but you're in, like, mono-red, this fits in there. And so, it's a $6 card that's obviously going to drop, and it was last reprinted in Commander Anthology. Just generally a pretty good card. Again, I mean, $6 isn't awful, but looking at it, you want the card to be at least half the price of the pack. That way, the other one will hopefully be half the price of the pack, and then you get it. Now, obviously, you could pull this in a Jace, and boom, you're super happy, but you could pull this in a 35-cent rare, and now you just paid, $15 for $6 worth of cards. Now, obviously, uncommons can be worth more, all that, but we're going to talk more about also numbers towards the end. Next we have Sonforger, 3-cost artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+0, and you can pay a red and a white and unattached Sonforger. Search your library for a red or white instant card with CMC 4 or less, and cast that card without paying its mana cost. Shuffle your library. So a very, very good card for Boros Commander decks. I don't think it's very competitive in terms of like other formats, but it's pretty good in Commander. It costs $4. Again, do you really want a $4 pack? A $4 card out of a $4 booster would be amazing, but a $4 card out of a $15 booster, that's kind of sad. And again, last reprinted Commander 16. Next, we have Engineered Explosives. It's X for an artifact with Sunburst, so it enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. So you could pay Wooburg for this. You could pay 0. This could be just a 0-cost artifact for the thing that it's an artifact. But then you can pay 2 and sacrifice it to destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on it. So not equal to or less than or equal to. It is just equal to. So if you want to kill a bunch of tokens, you do have to put this in for 0. If you want to kill a bunch of 1-drops, you do have to put this in for 1. So keep that in mind. Obviously, this card's already seen play. It's $8.49. Not bad when you're looking at a $15 pack. That's more than half, so that's pretty good. And it's from Ultimate Masters. It's hard to kind of evaluate price because the set is not set up normally, just in terms of the amount of rares and mythics and all that, so it's kind of weird. Next, we have Sword of War and Peace. This was last a Kaladesh invention, or if you don't count that, it was from New Phyrexia. And it's an artifact equipment, and it says equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and white. So this is part of the sword cycle, obviously. And then it says whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, Sword of War and Peace deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand, and you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. It's honestly probably one of the weaker sword effects in terms of, maybe that's not true, but, you're dealing probably at most 7 damage to them, which is a lot, but that's assuming they have a full hand, and then you might gain, 7, maybe 8 life, so that's pretty good, but that's an ideal scenario. This could theoretically just do nothing on hit, compared to something like some of the other swords that untap all your lands. That just feels like a much bigger effect. Either way, this is $22.99. Again, would love to pick this up, but you'll notice all the cards that are actually worth something are mythics, and you might be like, okay, that makes sense, but it should not be either get a mythic or you don't make your money back, which it seems to be what's going to happen, although obviously the whole set has not been spoiled. Next, we have Worm Coil Engine, again, another mythic. It's a 6-cost artifact creature worm, 6/6, Death Touch and Lifelink, and when it dies, create a 3/3 worm with Lifelink and a 3/3 worm with Death Touch. Very good card, especially in Commander. $26, last reprinted in Commander Anthology Volume 2. Just overall good card. It's nice to see it get a reprint. Next, we have Carne Liberated. This is a 7-cost legendary Planeswalker Carne, 6 loyalty. It says target +4, target player exiles a card from their hand. -3, exile target permanent. -14, restart the game, leaving in exile all non-aura permanent cards exiled with Carne Liberated. Then put those under the battlefield under your control. So you're supposed to like have your opponents exile things from hand. You're supposed to exile, target permanent. You could even target yourself with that first ability to save them for later, and then exile, restart the game, and you have this massive advantage. By the way, you are completely restarting the game. No lands, no nothing. So very interesting. Next, we have Glimmer Void. Also, by the way, very expensive card. Glimmer Void, land. At the beginning of your end step, if you have no artifacts, sacrifice it. So, yeah, you gotta make sure you have artifacts. So this only goes in an artifact deck. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. See, obviously, in the right deck, this is gonna be amazing. But it is only a $4 card. It was last reprinted in Mirrodin. Again, it's nice to bring down those numbers, but just I kind of wish this was a higher price. Obviously, there has to be not dud rares. This isn't a 50-cent one, but it's also not great. Next, we have Blinkmoth Nexus. It's a land, and it says tap, add colorless. Pay 1. Blinkmoth becomes a 1/1 artifact creature with flying until end of turn. It's still a land, and you can pay 1 and tap it, and target Blinkmoth creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So just a land that can become a creature. Not bad. But again, only $3, and it was last reprinted in Modern Masters 2015. Again, I'd be very disappointed to buy a $100 pack and get this card out of it. Next, we have the full collection of all the Borderless. This is on 2 different pages, just so you can actually look at them. So, we knew about Doubling Season, Blightsteel Colossus, Atraxa, Mana Crypt, and Kalia. But what we did not know about was the Urza series, which I love the fact that if you line them up next to each other, it's all one big piece of art. That is amazing, and if you get them on the battlefield, you better do it like that, because, it's amazing. And actually, I think, does it connect with Carne? I think it does connect with Carne, or at least it's in the same environment, it's by the same artist, and it looks like it does connect with Carne, which is really awesome. So Carne, but unfortunately, I'm not a huge fan of how Carne looks in this. But then we have Jace, who doesn't have new art, except he is completely borderless, not just stretched, but borderless, which is pretty awesome. Then we have Expedition Map, Sword of War and Peace, and a Worm Coil engine. Now, obviously, I have the other ones flipped because they have not revealed them, but why don't we break down some of these numbers? So, there are 91 commons in the set, which is kind of strange because usually there's 100, but that's because there's an extra rare and they take out a rare out of every pack, or not a rare, a common out of every pack. There's a normal amount of uncommons, but there's 121 rares in the set. That means that there are more rares than commons, which, I guess, but usually there's only about 53 rares, so that's more than double, and then mythics were almost tripled. They're usually 15, but now there's 40 of them. So whenever you're looking at it and you're like, wow, they spoiled a lot of rares today, they have to spoil more rares than commons. So that basically means that whenever you're seeing like, ooh, here's a cool $80 card, it's like, yeah, that's, there's 161 cards that can be in the rare slot. So wow, that's not that great. That's like 80, per slot. There's like a 1 in 80 chance, ignoring rare and mythic rare, that you get the card you're looking for. That's not great. And then, obviously, there's 40 box toppers, but they're not all mythic. Some of them are commons, like we talked about. 39 of them have new art, so that means that Jace is the only one without new art. And all of them are borderless, not extended, and they're not in foil. Also, by the way, an interesting note, they revealed that this set kind of started as Artifact Masters, which, when you look at today's spoilers, it really feels like it. We have things like Worm Coil Engine, Sword of Fire, not Fire and Ice, Peace and War and Peace, just all of these amazing artifacts. Even Carne, who isn't exactly an artifact, but, there's cards that care about artifacts. Expedition Map, Urza's Tower, Mine, and Power Plant. Just lots of, artifact stuff. Either way, guys, that's it for today's spoilers. Let me know what you guys thought of all of them in the comments down below. Are you disappointed with how it's looking so far? I kind of wish that they, gave it a little bit more of a push, at least on day 1, but maybe they're, trying to give us exciting things on every day. I think Jace and Carne are a big surprise. There are some other ones that were kind of confirmed, but I'll talk about those when they actually get revealed. I know a lot of people don't really like leaks, so we're not really going to talk about those here. But yeah, overall, it's looking okay. Obviously, this product really isn't meant to be purchased by a player or like by the average player. This is really meant to bring the price of cards down. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.